and you sort of move yourself into this really great place. And then you start to get a sense of how really great the place is that he's in. He's not miserable. He's okay.
Yeah.
Through the Sunrise program, we call repetitious behaviors isms, or self-stimulating behavior, something that would be repetitious over and over again. And somehow Kyle might have been getting some gain from it, and we would originally join him in that, and then we would build on it, and then eventually challenge through it to help create something new from it.
You're trying to do something more for the long term than the short term. Although usually in the very beginning there is almost an immediate response from the child because they're so surprised because no one ever joins them. This is what's considered the deviant behavior usually by all the adults around them, and suddenly someone who cares for them very much is doing this behavior with them.
When you start seeing progress in the program and you've been through joining, so there's a bond created with, in this case, Kyle, then you build on that by inviting the child into more challenging activities.
The picture loves the cars. She does. Can I tell you something? I love when you look at me. I love those brown eyes of yours.
For example, if you can join a child and play their spinning game for a while, and then they look at you and you go, hey, thanks for looking at me, and you get eye contact, then the next thing in terms of challenging them would be to say, Kyle, would you look at me for a second? Then if you get eye contact, that's an actual higher level of thing, because he didn't just give it to you sort of voluntarily. He gave it to you upon request. And we carefully charted all these steps every day, 10 hours a day.
Hi. That was nice that you looked at me. That was very sweet.
You don't do it to get the child to stop whatever they're doing and look at you. You join so that way you build a deeper relationship and rapport over a period of time so that interacting with you and every other facilitator and human being becomes significantly more attractive for the child.
Pink? How do you make pink? Tell me. How do you
Red and white.
What? You are so correct. That's right. Hey, I know how to make purple. Do you know how?
Blue and red.
Oh my gosh!
I would always say, you know, love you, Kyle, and never expect a response. And one time I said, I love you, Kyle. And he says, I love you too, Dad. And I didn't expect that. And you could have stopped the program right there. We had a long ways to go from there, but you know, that was pretty much worth it.
It was one of the first times that we were playing together, and we had our blankets and our sticks, and we had started to build a little game. And he was really into this game. For that, he hit me by accident with his stick. And it was one of the first times that he came over and said, "Oh, Mommy, okay? You okay?" And I think up until that point, I believed my son didn't have a conscience, didn't care about other people. So it was one of those moments where you have to just say, "I'll be right back, Kyle," because you gotta appreciate. You take a moment to appreciate how wonderful that is, that your son has actually touched you and he was concerned and caring about that he might have hurt you.
We find that the more total the immersion, the better. So because your wife and yourself and you have other children and work, you can't be in a room with your son 100 hours a week or 50 hours a week yourselves. You're going to recruit staff who you're going to train on how to play with your child in a very developmental, loving way.
I remember when we first started, we had, I think, 15 volunteers, which was fabulous. There were tons of people coming in throughout the day for 50, 55, 60 hours a week, interacting with Kyle one-on-one.
We really came together as a family to run this program. And we also had all these great people coming into our house every day who not only were going into the room with Kyle, but they would come in and say hi to Annie, and they would say hi to Jake.
Well, it was pretty cool getting to meet all the people who worked with Kyle in his room because they were really nice. Lindsay would come over early and hang out with me and Jake and stay late. You know, she was just a friend, she became a friend of the family.
When we were playing dodgeball with our friends, we'd run, we'd be like, get in the room, and we'd run and hide in the room.
Kyle built a little community around himself. It's pretty neat.
I think in large part they helped out because they really thought they could make a difference in a little boy's life. I call them Kyle's angels.
It's not unusual for a child in the Sunrise program, when they're nearing the end of their program, meaning they're able to really interact strongly and have a lot of the social and practical skills that they need to do really well in the world. For a child to start to verbalize their desire to be done with the program.
He got this in his head probably 2/3 of the way through the program that he wanted to be done. He wanted to graduate from his Sunrise program.
At my graduation, a lot of people who worked with me were there.
So we had a ceremony up at the Option Institute. Kyle has a mortarboard and a big, sign. Jennifer was fine. I sobbed for an hour.
I made a speech, and I can't really remember, but I remember it was a good speech, and everyone liked it.
I think the opening line to his speech was that there was an old Chinese proverb that says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And what a beautiful way to look at Kyle and what he's accomplished.
Whoa, hey, thanks. I've never had one of these before. Wow.
It's incredible to watch him come from that place where he was so alone, so much of the time anyway, to being really fully in this world and where he can do whatever he wants to do in the world.
He knew it was towards the end of the program, and he would start to talk to me about missing me. And here I go. From a child who had the hardest time connecting with anyone, let alone himself. His personality hadn't even emerged when I first met him, to someone who said, Linz, I'm going to really miss you. And certainly I was going to miss him.
I think Kyle has changed the most in his ability to make friends, and he's very outgoing now. He's the most comfortable, one of the most comfortable kids I know. Like, the other day, he wore his Admiral's hat with a quill pen sticking out of it to OC, which was crazy. I thought it was so cool.
Here's a kid who probably, where he was when we entered the program, he might not have needed institutionalization, but he wouldn't have been able to hold down employment of any meaningful sort, and he certainly wouldn't have been able to have meaningful relationships. And now this is a young person who's going to have loves and heartbreaks and good jobs and bad jobs and all the ups and downs of life that we all have.
I think looking back, the thing that's most important is that we have a relationship with our child. We have a deep, meaningful relationship. He's going to be okay. He's going to have relationships in his life. He's going to be able to take care of himself. And we are going to get to enjoy that.
Autism is just something that happens. You can't really control it, but you can just deal with it. Because once you deal with it, it's just like, it seems normal. And once you deal with it, it just seems to float away from you. Like an island breaking. Like a part of land breaking from another part.
What a wonderful world.